what I'd like to get to, obviously, are questions.
Fantastic.
Because I think that a Q&A is really good, because I think, you know, if I decide to talk about something, yes, it might be interesting, but what I'd really like to do is go to the topic that people really want to have answers to. And when I am asked a question, I may know the answer to the question already, because it's something I've discussed with the 9 in the past. If it's a question that I don't know the answer to, I will then work in one of 2 ways. I'll either work psychically to look at the energy fields that are around that question, but what I will probably do is bring the 9 forward, so they'll be with me and they start, you know, showing me symbols and communicating with me and giving me energy. And really, when I say them, it is actually just a deeper part of myself. That's who they are. But it's perhaps more it's going to give people more of an understanding when you say that they are a future version of myself. So they are me, if you like, many light years in the future. Wow. So if I don't know the answer to the question, I will bring them forward and communicate with them to try to look at, there's always a response. So even if I don't know the answer to the question, and sometimes I'm told I can't know the answer to everything. There are some things I'm not given any answers to. And when it comes to looking at timelines, it's quite difficult now to discern the higher probabilities of what will manifest in the future, because these timelines are no longer seen clairvoyantly as sort of individual choices or individual tracks of reality. What it looks like now is a merged spiral of timelines. They're merged together. The 9 call this a convergence. So we're heading towards a convergence. That's what all this is about, where all the timelines merge together as one. And within that, you have one outcome. But there are multiple ways that outcome can manifest, because what that actual outcome is a frequency. And the event or manifestation that takes place is a perfect match to the frequency. But there are many different perfect matches to that frequency. So there are several different ways that this can go. But when you're looking at this convergence, it becomes an inevitability, meaning that something that fits this is inevitable and can't be stopped, no matter how much some individuals on this planet would actually like to stop that. It can't be stopped because we're in a convergence. So looking at timelines isn't quite so easy now because of all of the merges, if that makes sense. So
thank you. I'm sure many of us would understand that if they know you anyway. But yeah, because you're talking about the 9, I will just go with a couple of questions about the 9 first then. Oh no, I'll start with this one. That was the first one that come in. Right, I keep seeing psychically that right at the last minute of this war between light and dark that we're going through, there's a sudden influx of benevolent ETs that come in to assist the light. It's very similar to the film Avatar, where right at the last minute the animals join in the fight and it tips the balance. I can see the benevolent ETs have always been helping us, and I don't see them as saving us or taking over. It's more that they are simply come to assist more powerfully right at the last second. I'd like to ask Magenta if she's seen anything like this.
Absolutely, and the person who's asked the question has answered their own. What this is a reflection of who we are. So if we have many starseeds, many light workers in connection, the more of us that wake up, the more of us that make that connection ourselves and move into an awareness, move into that spiritual connection and that enlightenment, that makes that connection and expands it. So that's why it's not that they're saving us, because they are the extension, the higher dimensional extension of us. So the answer is yes, but it isn't just benevolent beings outside of us. It's us that's creating that benevolence. And as we move towards this convergence, this inevitability, there are more and more and more people waking up and making that connection. So therefore, that expansion within them, and that mirror, that cosmic mirror, becomes those benevolent beings? So the answer is absolutely yes. And as we get towards this inevitability, that will be phenomenal. And that's what's going to change this reality, because the forces of that benevolence and that connection is so expansive across this world. And that kind of has already started. I mean, this all started before 2012 and really kicked in around the winter solstice of 2012. And we're coming up towards the this kind of culmination from the seeds that were planted at the winter solstice in 2012. We're coming up to this bridge that moved between the winter solstice 2012 and the winter solstice 2020, or the solstice summer, depending on where you are in the world. So absolutely, the answer to that is yes, definitely.
Wonderful, thank you. Like you say, we're going to have to be sort of short with these, aren't we, because there is quite a few, and there's more coming up at the side. So thank you. The fact that you and the 9 attract people from all over the world, would you think that they are soul groups that you have incarnated with before? Yes,
definitely. We make a plan. You know, the blueprint isn't just for one lifetime. The blueprint can be for a multiple amount of incarnations on one planet. So you may, you know, rather than in a linear sense, nothing is linear, it's all happening at the same time. But in a linear sense, you can perceive it as, rather than hopping around the universe from different planets, you choose to come into, let's say, Earth's progression, Earth's experiment, Earth's reality, Earth's assistance. And not all starseeds have done this, but I did come in right at the beginning of Earth's history. All starseeds have been connected to the Lemurian and specifically the Atlantean times, but from the beginning of our known history, which is after the Atlantean times, the beginning of this particular time period, many starseeds waited. You know, they were in other planetary systems, so they would have come in later, or sometimes just for this lifetime. But for me, and obviously the connection with the 9, the 9 themselves would not have been with me in the form that they are with me now. They would have presented in different forms because of my own awareness throughout these incarnations. But for me specifically, I came in with a soul group, and that blueprint would have been created for multiple lifetimes throughout history up until this time where we have this huge shift and this great change in dimensions. So the answer to that is yes, and that would have happened with many starseeds, but not all of them in a linear sense. But the answer is yes. Thank you.
Righty-ho. Can you go straight into channeling the 9, or do you have to go into the quiet first?
The quiet?
Well, yeah, quiet your mind to then link with them.
No, I can go straight in, even if it's really noisy and people are shouting at me and I'm in the middle of a supermarket. I can channel, but I've been doing it such a long time. In the early days, absolutely, I had to go into the quiet. I had to go into meditation to connect with White Spirit. I couldn't connect with him outside of meditation. I was living with my brother at the time, and he would ask me a question, because he was quite knowledgeable about certain scientific theories and physics and different spiritual paths, and I wasn't really. He would ask me all these quite complicated questions that I had no idea about, and I would go into meditation remembering the question, find White Spirit, ask him the question, get the answer, and come out of meditation and give my brother the answer, until such a time, which was a few weeks of doing it this way. My brother asked me a question, and it was quite a profound one, because I remember it was to do with the quantum worlds and the many worlds theory of quantum mechanics, and it was the first I'd heard of it. And because it was such a profound question and so important for our whole reality and going forward, I tried to hold the question in my mind so that I could go into meditation to ask White Spirit. And as I was thinking about the question, suddenly I had this complete change of focus, where there was this shift in my mind. White Spirit was there next to me, and all the chakras opened, the energy body of me completely changed, and I went into this altered state of consciousness while I was fully awake. So this is what mediums and channels do. But I remember it actually happening to me because it hadn't happened that way before. And I remember saying to my brother, he's here. White Spirit's here. I don't need to. Oh, I can't believe it. He's here. I can feel him. I can feel him. And my brother's like, calm down. And he's like, he's giving me the answer. I'm like, hold on a minute. You know.
Oh my God.
In the early days, I did have to go into the quiet time, but then I was trained to be able to go into this communication in all situations, because as we get forward, you know, where we're going, there may be times when you need to bring channeling forward and you aren't in a calm place. So a beginner would need to go into the calm place. A beginner would need to put the protections in and the safeties in and get into the zone. It's only after practice. It's just like playing an instrument.
Yes.
Can you play the piano without going into the zone? A beginner would say, no, I need complete quiet. Leave me alone. I need to focus on playing the piano. But once they've been playing for years, they'll be able to bang that tune out wherever they are. So it's kind of like that.
Oh, fantastic.
And
I think you've already answered this one, really. Do you feel confident they'll always be with you? Because if it is a higher aspect of you, then of course they always will, won't they?
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. Because they are my DNA. So they'll always be with me, because DNA is within you, it's within your body, it's within your blood and your cells and your skeletal structure and your brain. And when you leave the body, DNA remains within the energetic. So it's always with you. Yes.
Fantastic. And I also know another lady that says she channels the 9. Is that possible?
It is, and this is really interesting because I asked the 9 this, I think last year, because quite a few people were coming up and channeling the 9, and there was Phil Good who came out and was channeling the 9, and people were writing to me saying, the 9 said this, your 9 said this, and Phil Good says this, and they were slightly different. And also someone would say, you were channeling the 9 at 6 o'clock yesterday, but so was Phil Good. So how are you working out this timeshare? So obviously I went to the 9 and I asked them, and they told me, and there is a video on my channel, can other channels channel the 9? What they actually said was that every single guidance structure on this planet, every single person's guides, every person who is of positive polarization, from the higher multidimensional viewpoint, they are all the same guidance structure. It is a one soul higher self. So the 9 are the same as the Guardian Alliance, the Galactic Federation, the Blue Avians, the Cryon, I mean, whatever name you want to give to that guidance structure from the higher viewpoint. However, you sort of come down these frequencies, you come down these dimensions, and there are different perspectives. So as you come more into individualization, the guides individualize. So therefore, they would be more seen as family or as brothers or as sisters. They wouldn't actually be the same entity because they're individualized entity. So from that point of view, any guidance structure that's named the Council of 9 or the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of 9 would be the same 9 from there. Then they individualize even more, where they are just for you in that individualization. And from that point of view, my 9 are not the same 9 as anyone else's 9. So the answer to that question is yes and no.
Because like you get so many channeling, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Michael, so I thought, is it the same as that? Yeah.
Yes and no. The answer is yes and no. From the higher, I mean, it's like you and I, Jackie, are we the same person? Well, in this reality, in 2020, in the third dimension, of course not. You're Jackie and I'm Magenta. But in the higher realms, we are the same soul, incarnated into 2 different bodies at the same time period, but we're the same person. So that's the viewpoint. It's 2 different viewpoints, and that's why the answer is yes and no.
Lovely. That's a good one. Thank you. So a friend of mine this morning, she said she was concerned, will it always be like this, social distancing for our age more perhaps? Not that we want to go back to whatever normal is, but do you think this social distancing, you know, because it's quite not friendly?
Yeah. Well, the answer is no, it is not going to be here forever. However, there are different degrees as to when people come out of this. So we have a moving forward into this aware reality, if you like, new earth, 5D reality, this interim period into it. There are individuals that will move away from social distancing before others. So how that will work is, for example, let's say right now, there are some individuals who are not socially distancing at all, but the government, or, you know, those in control are presenting that they must. So in certain scenarios, they still will have to, but they've come out of that social distancing mindset because they're aware of the true reality. So slowly others will come out of that, and eventually you'll get to a point where many are not social distancing, but some still are, even after the sort of government rules have changed. So how long that will take, no one really knows. What is the time period that we will reach this Gaia 5D, because we are there now. Gaia 5D exists now. Many of us live within it, but we're moving in and out of it. So we're jumping timelines. We're actually living in 2020, but we are also able to live 10 years, 50 years, 100 years and longer in the future, because the future is the higher. The higher reality and the future reality are one and the same. It's just that we see them in different directions. So, but on a physical level, in this real world, no, this will not be forever, but I can't give a time period, but we are looking roughly between 2021 and 2024 for all these changes to occur. Social distancing, this will depend on how long those who are creating the rules, let's call them, say, the cabal, how long can the cabal hold on to their structure and hold on to these draconian rules that they are giving out? How long can they hold on to them? Now, as far as they're concerned, they want to hold on to them as long as possible, if not permanently, right, to prevent this inevitability. However, there are other things going on, and there are individuals that are coming in from the benevolent, life-affirming perspective. And if those individuals and those groups can move into the agendas and the plans that they have, this will prevent the cabal from holding on to their rules for as long as they would like to. So there are multiple energetics working right now, which is why people say it's a war. It is a war, if you like, because yes, there are people actually fighting against one another. But really what this is a polarity integration, working out these polarities so we, as humanity, as a planet, can raise our polarity structure to the next octave or the next dimension, which is why we say we're going into the fifth dimension, because what we're in right now is really the fourth dimension in the way that the majority of humanity are thinking, which is then going to start changing the geological land of the third density into this fourth dimensional geological land, because the land and the consciousness are one. So we're kind of in the twilight zone, the fourth dimension right now, even though this is a third dimensional planet. But the fifth dimension is the higher octave and this integration and raise in polarity. So the cabal are holding on to all of these plans and plots and social distancing, and they will use the social distancing against the people by saying, well, if you, for example, take this substance that you inject into your body, then you won't need to social distance anymore, and you won't need to wear face coverings anymore, because you'll be, you know, if you've got this microchip immunity passport on, you won't need to do this anymore. So we have to be aware of the plans, and we have to learn ways to come into sovereignty and not buy into that manipulation. And again, it depends how these things go, because everything that they are doing so far is backfiring on them and is falling apart. That doesn't mean that they don't have power. They still do, and they've got many different agendas that they're going to try, but everything that they have done so far is backfiring and falling apart, because the energetics of this planet does not align with this service to self, negative polarity of greed and control and everything that goes with that. That doesn't align with this new raise in polarity, this fifth dimensional world, this fifth dimensional consciousness, which is being created by the starseeds and the aware individuals by the way that they think. Their consciousness is changing the reality, the actual geological structure of this planet and around this planet and this solar system, and changing the timelines that we're moving into and creating this inevitability. So social distancing won't be forever, no.
Wonderful, good. There's been a few comments on that one as it's gone up, so I think I'll just read a couple of those. I've seen reference to the idea that the seven main body chakras are false and are an overlay used by forces to feed off our energy, and underneath we have three main chakras, and that we have the ability to remove this overlay if we have the skills. Thanks and blessings.
Okay, that's such a good question. Okay, so there are multiple models and presentations of the energy body. The seven chakra presentation is just a simplified presentation of the energy body for individuals to be able to learn. The whole idea of the seven chakras being an overlay to the real chakra system is twofold. One is that the true energetic system of the body is far more than seven chakras. So the three that you're talking about is the sacred trinity, which branches out into multiple infinite chakra systems. So from that point of view, it's true. However, if you start believing that your seven chakras are an infiltration, disinformation, and some kind of hijack, you will create that for yourself. And the other viewpoint regarding the seven chakra system is that it is a basic model to teach the newly awakened, and it is the most predominant model. And if you hold the heart structure and the knowing of your own sovereignty and your own light, and you work with these understandings of anti-hijacking and firewall software, or whatever pathway you use, if you're in that sovereignty, nothing is hijacked, and you can broadcast a seven chakra system and be in pure and utter source alignment. The answer to that question, therefore, is yes and no, depending on your perspective.
God, you are amazing. Okay, will Bill Gates succeed in his plan to vaccinate and microchip the entire world population, turning the population into cyborgs? They are succeeding in getting everyone to wear masks, except a very few of us. I mean, that's only, they're getting that because of this £100 fine if you don't. I can imagine that's the only reason people would agree to it.
It's not the only reason. There are other reasons people are agreeing to it. But answering that question, looking at the most probable outcome, even though, as I've said, these aren't timelines, we're moving into a convergence, the probability of, you know, Bill Gates or whoever the people are that are with him getting what he wants, which is a complete vaccination program and microchipping program for the entire population. The response to that question, when I'm looking at the probability fields, is a massive, massive no. That is not to say that partly that this will not be implemented and that this will not be partly successful. It is looking as though it could be partly successful in small pockets, but globally, absolutely not, no. Because if it were to be globally successful, we wouldn't get to the inevitability. The reason being is the vaccine program and the microchip program shuts down the part of the brain and the DNA responsible for awakening, free thought, religious experience, higher heart connection, the upgrade of the chakra system, the upgrade of the DNA and ascension. It shuts that down, or that is the intention. Doesn't necessarily mean that the actual substance will work with everyone, but that's the intention, and it may actually work with some. So if that were to work on a global level with every single individual on the planet, the inevitability could not be created, but the inevitability is there. It's a living, pulsating consciousness that exists. If it didn't exist, I wouldn't be able to see it. Other channels wouldn't be able to see it. Therefore, if it's there, it exists. It is the convergence of all the timelines. It's not one timeline, as in there are multiple choices. It is an inevitability. Therefore, it is a convergence of timelines. Now, how it manifests, as I've said earlier when I was speaking, we can't always say exactly how it will manifest, but we can see the frequencies that it holds. So worldwide global vaccination and microchip, the answer to that is no.
From Nikki, how do you think all these disposable masks going to affect Mother Earth? I'm concerned about the environment.
The environment is already massively polluted already, with multiple different kinds of non-biodegradable plastics. Again, this is, deliberate. So this is the starseeds and the grid workers that will be doing the work here. They literally go out and clean up the planet. They work energetically to clean the planet. They work with stargates. They are moving into realities where they are unable to continue to spend their money on items that are going to cause pollution. So many starseeds are now looking into sustainable clothing and sustainable packaging. The same consciousness is coming into all the aware individuals. So ultimately in New Earth, there's no pollution. But we're in an interim period, and the only way for the global humanity to understand how important it is to have no pollution is to have pollution, to show them how to get to no pollution. So the starseeds know this already. They don't need these teachings, but many others are not awake. That's why all this is going to happen. But the grid workers are working on this. And ultimately, will this destroy Earth? No.
Wonderful. So from Marianne, we've got a question. If the virus numbers are overinflated, why doesn't the Trump administration put an end to it?
Okay, so the Trump administration are doing everything they possibly can to put an end to it. But they are playing a very delicate game of 5D chess. They cannot just say on national television, the numbers are grossly inflated. Here's the proof. This is a cabal. They've been lying to us for thousands of years. They've been doing this and doing that and abusing children, and the ETs are coming. They're already laughing at Trump. He's already being presented as a complete idiot and a fool. So he has got to play it careful. But be assured they are doing everything that they can to put a stop to this. And from what I'm seeing, the information about the overinflated numbers and all of the other cover-ups in the hospitals, this is set to come out. When, I don't know. It could be sometime before the end of this year or in early 2021. Again, we could be looking at a staggered awareness where some people already know this now, and then more people become aware and more people become aware. Is this going to come out from a politician? No, disclosure of these things are coming out from the people, the doctors, the hospital workers, the staff, the nurses. They're going to step forward more and more and more and more. Then when there's enough awareness, then Trump can make the announcement. But the first thing we need before Trump starts making announcements at that level, we need the media to start to crack, and for the light workers in the media to step up and follow their calling. Because what is keeping Trump and the administration from the people is this wall of media. And that's what's holding up the cabal agenda. The media, the media, the media. So, but yes, it's all set to crumble, all of it. So that's why the Trump administration can't make these announcements right now. And I get a lot of questions like this. If Trump is really that good and he's really working for the light, they've got enough evidence now, why doesn't he just say it? Why? Because that is like, let me just use an analogy. That is like a snake in a pit of snakes managing to survive because he's a snake. Even though he's a slightly different snake to all the other snakes, he's still managing to survive. And suddenly that snake turns into a beautiful white owl or a winged being. and the snakes will have him. So we need to be sure that there are multiple winged beings and multiple white owls, or whatever metaphor you want to use, for that snake to be safe to come forward. It's an uprising that occurs at the same time, which is why you have the truth movement and the whole Q movement. That's why they use the term, whether or not Q is correct or not. I'm not sort of going there. That wasn't the question. But the term, where we go one, we go all. That's what this means. We rise together. So this isn't about Trump and him doing something to save us. This is about us and Trump working in unison. And that is what we are doing.
What a fantastic answer. And I tell you, really, I'm so grateful to you, because like so many others, I was absolutely close to Trump. And now I can honestly say I love him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can understand people being close to him, and I can understand people hating him. The mainstream have presented this horrendous individual that's literally not him, but because of his personality, they actually catch real things that he's done, and then they inflate it so that when somebody sees the information in mainstream and then they go and watch the clip, they're like, well, yes, that is what he did. So
yes.
Unless you relax with all the fake presentation and look beyond it with the heart and actually see the soul of the person, the matrix of the person, the emotions of the person, and allow yourself to move into that unification and that telepathy with humanity itself, unless you do that, you will not see the truth of Donald Trump or of anyone. So I do understand, and obviously I get huge attacks, and I'm simply, all I am doing is talking about the insight and the perspectives that I have. Never once have I ever said I'm right. What I'm saying is, this is what I see, and I'm adding up what I see with other things that I see and adding up everything to create a picture. Simply my perspective. And if people don't like it, or if they don't like anyone talking about anyone they don't like, they don't have to listen, they don't have to watch.
Absolutely.
They do, though, because it triggers them, and they kind of thrive on being triggered because it gets them fired up, and then all that anger and frustration and that unresolved trauma and shadow, based on the way the world is right now and the trapping system, they want to blame somebody for this situation. And so they will blame the people who are saying things that they can't believe. That's why the light workers and the way showers and the starseeds and the truthers are under so much attack right now. That's why it's happening.
Wow, that just brought up for me Helen Craddock, her husband. I was talking to him the other day, Colin, and he said the Brazilian Prime Minister actually went into the hospitals, saw they were absolutely quiet, nothing happening in there, and then so he went to that mass grave that they've done and asked them to dig up the graves, because he didn't believe that there was, and there's nothing in them apparently. So this has brought up something for someone. There's a really long comment here. Magenta, I am a walking miracle. The deep state has used every tool in the toolbox imaginable. Bio warfare. Oh, loads of words there. My head is in attempt to eliminate my psychic ability. Just wondering, do you have any insight in that? It's what being blocked now with the implementation of all the new satellite grid with Elon Musk. I got a clear message around March. You are safe now, but not sure what technology shift was made.
Okay. Yeah, that's really complicated. I mean, the whole Elon Musk thing, Elon Musk is coming from a benevolent place in his actual intention. However, the technology is so advanced that it is open to hijacking. If things go well with those that are in the pro-life program, if you will, everyone who is working to raise the polarity of humanity, if things go well, then the technologies that they have can be used for a benevolent reason, a benevolent source. Technology and artificial intelligence is not bad per se. It's how it's used and who is controlling it as a tool. obviously it's been used as hijacking for a long time. So it's raveled up together, with the negative and the positive are raveled up together, and some individuals can get you know, feel targeted by this. So if you go to my YouTube channel, I do have a video. It's quite an old one from years ago. It's called Bypassing Copycat Mind Waves. The teaching that you need is in that video. Then I would also suggest that you also watch the video Psychic and Spiritual Attack on my video. I know that that's not psychic and spiritual attack per se, but it's the same way of healing. So watch those two videos. I would also say, go and watch the recent few UK Goddess Roundtables and the Divine Feminine Roundtables, because we talk very much about tools to assist people. In fact, I did a roundtable with the girls from the Divine Feminine Roundtable on Sunday. That was uploaded to my channel earlier today, and we are talking about tools to assist you. This is about becoming sovereign, becoming clear, working with the shadow, working with traumas. When you do this, you become immune. Also, go and find my meditation that I did for the March equinox, because there is an immunity program in that meditation. I think it was around March that I did the meditation. It's the unification meditation. If you do that, it's a guided meditation. There is an immunity program in there. There is an immunity program also in the Bypassing Copycat Mind Waves. My book, Masters of the Matrix, also contains immunity codes. So there are many things that you can do. But number one is moving into sovereignty. And if you are in that mindset of, I'm being attacked, they're targeting me, even if it is correct, it's working to shift the mindset, but not in a fluffy bunny way, as in all you need to do is just believe that you're not being, you know, targeted. That's not the way. You have to be aware that there's targeting going on, and then you move into a sovereignty, you move into an awareness, and it is done on all levels. It's not just astral and spiritual and psychic and psychological. You need to work with the physical body as well. The foods you are eating, get rid of any toxicity. Go and read someone like Anthony William. Go read my book, Lessons from a Living Lemuria. Have toxin-free foods. Go vegan or vegetarian. Start looking into nutrition. Start working with exercise programs that assist you in flowing your energetic frequency, like yoga, tai chi, eurythmy. They're the three, and martial arts if you're a man. Martial arts are really good for men, specifically for the male path. So there are multiple things you can do. Get crystals in your house, surround you with crystals, surround yourself with house plants. So that in itself, that question in itself is a topic for an entire 2-hour discussion and an entire book, which is why I channeled a book on that topic. So go and do all of those things and hold the intention that these steps I am taking, this action I am taking, is moving me into an immunity where I am releasing this attack, I'm releasing this targeting, and I'm moving into an immunity. Regarding Elon Musk, it may be that these satellites, if they are in the hands of the let's say the alliance, the good guys, those that are working for the life of this planet, it may be that they're working on more of a 6G vibration rather than a 5G vibration. The 6G works in a different way, and it can kind of if you are a non-awakened individual, you may get some harm from this, depending on who's controlling it. But if you're an awakened individual, you can actually merge with the frequencies of the satellite system. But there could be more than one satellite system up there. As I said, this is a polarity war, if you will, and everyone's using the same tools, and there's a race. Who's going to get the vaccine? Will there be a harmful vaccine, or will there be a non-harmful one, if there is such a thing? You know, who's going to get the satellites? We have a race going on from these different groups, and it's so complex. But I'm feeling that when we're moving towards this inevitability in the 5D Gaia reality, that anything that is artificial intelligence wise and these satellites, if it's within the benevolence this can be turned around and used in a different way, such as for healing. So there are multiple paths regarding the whole AI thing, because the AI program is the main core for the New World Order takeover. It's what's called the Armageddon timeline. However, the only way they can actually get this is by hijacking the organic timeline, which is heading towards the inevitability, 5D, Gaia, Ascension, Paradise timeline. That's the core. The core is compassion and love. They have to hijack that. How long can they hijack this for? With the Trump administration doing what they're doing, and all of the other light workers and white hats and alliance coming in, and the starseeds and the consciousness. So we've got a flux of energies, and the reality we're heading for is the inevitability, the new Earth 5D timeline, the Paradise timeline. It's not the Armageddon timeline. That we were heading for that going back before 2012, but once Obama changed things a bit, but it didn't really change the timeline, but it raised it somewhat because, and I know it's about the American administration, it's about the American presidency, because it's the most powerful political spot on this planet, because of the whole story of America and its links to Atlantis. But McCain was supposed to be the one that won, and if he'd have won, that would have taken them into the Armageddon New World Order timeline. Obama didn't take them away from that, but it changed it a bit because the people had some kind of change, but it wasn't enough. Once Trump got in, that absolutely shifted the timeline. And that timeline was shifted before he got in. He got in because the people manifested him with their higher consciousness and their open-hearted love and the raising of the DNA and the higher heart. That's how come he became president. So everything is tied in. Everything.
Can you see him getting in again, Magenta?
Such a good question. Again, that's not set. Number one, it may be that there is no election at all. That is in the potential interim period towards the inevitability. It may be that there is no election at all. That I think it's 50-50 at the moment. Let's say there is an election, because there's an issue with the voting system. And there's an issue coming with the voting system, and it's a big, big thing. So it might actually change the actual election. And then if we have information coming out about the whole Mueller investigation and the General Flynn and all of the spying on the Trump administration by the Obama administration before he got into power, if all of that starts to come out more, coupled with the voting problem, this could actually create a situation where there's no election. But let's say there is an election. We've then got a timeline where Joe is running, but he's not going to be the candidate. There's somebody else potentially coming in, maybe. So we've got branches going off of these timelines. It may be that they bring someone else in at the last minute who will garner a lot of support, but if we can stay on track, and this is where the starseeds come in, with the power, the sovereignty, the knowing, the focusing on the higher timeline, all of their meditations and prayer and grid work and support energetically of Trump and the administration and all of the alliance, if we can do that, which we're on track for, then yes, Trump will win, and he'll win by a landslide. So it's not that's not inevitable, but is him winning a second term in the timeline? Absolutely it is.
Wonderful. I'm going to carry on because there's still so many. Okay. I mean, Marianne, as a follow-on to that first question, if face masks don't really help and quarantine also becomes mandatory, will white hats in charge of government step in? I don't know. Shall I just...
Well, all I would say is to actually literally take the energetic of the future timeline and say what it is isn't working. What I can give you is the energetic, which I can say to you is whatever is going on, whatever we go into, the starseeds that are in alignment with that 5D timeline and are living it now are working with synchronicity and the law of magnetic attraction. Even though this reality is on a attempted planetary takeover right now and is being hijacked massively more than ever, that does not mean that the law of magnetic attraction has gone, that does not mean that synchronicity has gone. If anything, it's ramped up in antidote to the negative raising of their sort of hold. So it's matching it. So if you stay within the knowing, it's about navigating 1 minute, being out there and being spoken and in your indigo power. I do not consent. I will not consent to this. The next minute being in disguise, staying in the background, staying safe, head down, cloak over you, invisible. It isn't one or the other. And this is why people are saying mask or no mask. There might be times when you go in and say, I'm not wearing a mask, and you challenge the system and you show them the legal documents that you have or your exemption certificates or whatever. But there might be other times when you need to put on something and remain in disguise. And people don't understand this. I've had a lot of criticism when people hear me say this, because they think I'm saying one must acquiesce. No, because there is potential harm, potential danger to the people in the shops. Now, that's not necessarily coming from the staff, and it's not necessarily going to be in every shop. And some shops may be full of light. And if you're in synchronicity, you're going to be avoiding the dangerous places, and you're going to be moving into the places that are full of light. But we are going to be looking at, over the next few weeks, the people wearing the masks, following the false narrative, who believe that there is a killer virus, actually attacking the people who are aware and who realize there is not a killer virus. So we're looking at conflict there in our local shops. So even if the staff are okay, you might get one person in a shop that is, you know, in a very distorted state, to put it mildly. And you don't want to get caught up in an altercation. If you do, then you have a choice. Do you stand in sovereignty, or do you move in disguise? So when I say disguise, if you're going to put on a mask, think of it as the purple cloak of invisibility. You are drawing a cloak over you to keep yourself safe and hidden. And it doesn't even have to be a mask. You can go get a bandana or a scarf, which is a different energy. It's a face covering, but a scarf is something we wear all the time anyway. That's fashion.
That's what I wear, a scarf.
Exactly. And a bandana is more about being a bandit, being a ninja, so we have to have all these tools as a starseed, and we need to have a whole toolbox of how we can use these tools in order to navigate. If you can line up with the 5th dimensional reality, Gaia, and draw it into you now and live within it now, then you are going to be guided by synchronicity, and these things won't occur for you. I understand about the fears of being put in quarantine and having people coming in, and but if you line up with that synchronicity, and I have those fears too, just like the person who asked you the question. But when I have those fears, the 9 talk to me. They show me how to navigate this reality, and then they tell me to go teach this to everyone else.
Wonderful.
So that's what I'm doing, and I trust them because they've navigated me. They've taught me to navigate my reality for so many years. I trust what they are saying.
Well, it's truly working. Honestly, there's been some lovely comments about how that people love you so much on here.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh,
yeah, it's too much really to read out. But hello from Israel. I would like to ask about our Prime Minister, if possible. What do you see about him? Oh, for Israel's Prime Minister. I'd like to know about ours.
I don't know who Israel's Prime Minister is. I don't have a name. I don't have a photograph. I can tell you what I see, but obviously I can't focus in. I mean, if I had a photo of him, it would be much easier. What I'm actually seeing here is, what I'm sort of seeing here is someone who's been hijacked, been controlled, but is kind of waking up a little bit and looking at things. And there's still some control around him, but there's also some truth around him, and he's kind of moving within that system. It doesn't look as though he's cabal, but there's definitely some cabal close to him that he's been working with, but now it's looking as though there's a choice that he has to make, really, and there's a chance that maybe he can move away from this. As I said, I work really well with photographs. What is his name? Do you know his name?
Let's just see if that's come up.
Sorry, Israeli Prime Minister.
I might have said that wrong.
Okay, so is it Benjamin?
Yes.
Okay, let me have a look. Let me have a look. Okay, looking at his photo. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's what I said, really. He's not Cabal himself, but there's been Cabal influence around him. He's been, you know, misled and hijacked in the past. So he's parroted a lot of their agenda and enforced their agenda, but there is a possibility. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, I'm going to go with what I said. He is not Cabal himself, as in part of the family. But there's been hijacking, there's been Cabal around him. He has been parroting their agenda and working with their agenda. However, there is now something occurring where he's discovering things and sort of there are different choices. Other people are coming in. He's kind of very much mirroring the polarity battle that's going on globally is happening inside him, as it is with so many people. So there's a possibility of a switch to the positive polarity. And I'm not saying he's negative because he hasn't been aware. So, you know, lots of people will say, is someone a white hat or is someone a black hat? Some people are grey hats, which is where they haven't kind of made that decision. I would say he's in that sort of place, a grey hat, but there is a chance of some good there. He's not full Cabal. He doesn't have the Cabal configuration within his matrix, like say Matt Hancock. He's fully 100%. Not only is he Cabal, he's really high up in the Cabal. So the Israeli Prime Minister's not like that. Sorry, I can't be more specific though, because there's a mix of vibration there.
There was a good comment here just now, and I can't find it now. I can't. Right.
Some people have a mixed vibration because they're linking with both. Like Trump is 100%.
Oh, there it is. It said that he's highly Cabal, like Angela Merkel.
Right. I wonder, I mean, I hope I'm looking at the right person. I did see two different people, but yeah, I mean, I'm the person I'm looking at, I'm not seeing that in the photo I found, if I found the right person online.
Lovely.
However, there is definitely Cabal around him and influence and agenda. So, right.
I'll go on to the next question. Thank you so much for answering that one. So, could you ask Magenta if she thinks that everything virus related and all of the racist division, fighting, etc., will all come to an end once Trump takes down the cabal, and how long will that be?
Oh, that's a difficult question because Trump isn't taking down the cabal. This is the thing. We are doing this. It's a worldwide, global program. So he's doing his bit and we're doing our bit, and it's taking stages. So it's like part of the cabal are exposed, but the others are still there, and then another part are exposed, but then some new ones pop in, and then they get exposed. It's going to take time, but once the cabal are removed, if we get to that timeline within this interim period, what was the question, the first bit?
So if she thinks everything virus related and all of the racist division, fighting, etc., will come to an end once Trump takes down the cabal, and how long will that take?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I said, Trump isn't taking down the cabal, and Trump will do some things to stop some of the violence, but then it'll come up in another area and stop some of the virus. It's continuously a fight, a war. It's like the cabal want everyone to wear masks. Trump is saying no, they don't have to wear masks, but then the governors are saying yes, they do, and we've got the same over here in the UK. When the cabal are removed from this planet, absolutely, all of that will stop. How long will that take? We are looking at an interim period. It's very difficult to say how long that will take because some people are moving into this breakaway society, new earth reality sooner than others. So for all of us globally, I would estimate 4 to 5 years, but 2024, 2025 is an estimation. But that is by no means set, because if certain things occur, it can all crash this year. We could be in New Earth by 2021, but that depends on what happens, because when you're looking at the probabilities within the interim period, they're equal 50-50 probabilities, because we've got 50% consciousness coming in from one area, the negative polarity, and 50% consciousness coming in from the positive polarity. So it's difficult to estimate what will happen. And when I ask the 9 these questions, they say to me, the question is not what will happen or what time it will happen. The question is, how can you create it? It's about creation. This is a blank canvas. Even though we've got these little presentations in this interim period towards this inevitability, those presentations are there because of our consciousness. So we rise above the consciousness of those that are creating all the violence and the masks and the social distancing and all the control. We take the overview of that. That's something Laura Eisenhower talks about all the time. If you go and listen to some of my talks with her, she's always talking about going above that consciousness. So that's what we're doing. We're trumping that lower consciousness. Yeah, that's what trump means, to trumpet. So it's funny how that's his name, because he's trumping the lower consciousness. All symbolic, all cosmic. So the response to that is, what can we do to create the reality? And it isn't just about visualizing love and hope and ignoring the darkness. It's about seeing all the dark stuff, seeing what's going on, understanding it, realizing it's in our reality, not ignoring it, and then integrating it all collectively as a telepathic union, as a telepathic group. We're moving into what the 9 call alchemical unification. Our minds, as they connect, they expand. So if I'm on my own as Magenta, I have a certain ability to radiate this 5D frequency. But if I talk to you, Jackie, and I connect with you, we have Jackie and Magenta. Our mind frequencies, DNA, matrix, reality, biofields, they merge together and radiate a higher network, creating a trinity, drawing in more higher consciousness. Then when you've got 3 people, 4 people, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 1 million people, 2 billion people, that's what we're doing. We're creating this alchemical unification grid. That's creating this timeline for us. There's another way of looking at this as well, and that is that different people are going to experience different timelines and different realities, all within this planet, all within this earth. So you've got some people moving far quicker into moving away from all this control, and others are still in it, in the same earth, but we're living a different reality. That has already happened. It's called the 2 world split, and we're already in it now. And you can see that now very, very clearly. Everyone who believes the false narrative and the virus, and that Trump is awful, and let's all wear a mask to save lives and stay home and do all of that stuff. Give your details in, track and trace, download the app, do whatever the government say, have a vaccine, etc. That's a different mindset and a different world to the rest of us. They're creating that reality for themselves by holding the consciousness within their belief structure. That's the hijacking. They're deliberately being hijacked to create the reality. The cabal can't create the reality on their own. They need a huge amount of power and focus. That's why they hijack the people, using them like a battery source. So the more people that wake up, the less power the cabal have got, because they're getting less and less people, and more people are waking up every day. And this whole attempted planetary takeover with the whole virus and lockdown actually created people to wake up. So what the cabal are trying to do is actually backfiring on them, because now we've got so many awake people, far more than we ever had. So this is what's happening.
I know we're coming to an end, but I will just ask you one more question. Is that all right? Because it leads on really nicely to what you've just said.
Okay.
We've been on this path for many years. Many of us have been on this path for many years, but the people just waking up now, what's the best advice? Because there's so much information. How do we focus on what's really relevant and purposeful to us?
Great question. It's going to be different for each individual. What is it that they love? What's their love?
Yes.
Is it animals? Is it music? Is it holistic health? Is it meditation? Is it art? Find your love, find your passion, and then move into it. This will open you up, and you will find your life's mission is there somewhere within that love. So that's number one. Then it would be about looking at the situation that's occurring. I have a video on my YouTube channel called the 3-step process to ascension in lockdown. Step 1 being understand the dark plan. It's very difficult when you look at it. You don't have to understand all of it. You don't have to be researching 24/7 for the next 2 years. Just get a basic understanding of the Cabal and what they're trying to do. So go watch Fall Cabal series on YouTube by, oh, I can't remember the lady's name, but she's lovely and she's contacted me. We've had a few emails together. And she's a really lovely, heart open soul. And on YouTube, Fall Cabal, that's a really lovely, I say gentle, it's still shocking for anyone, but it's a gentle awakening for someone new. There's David Icke as well. Now he is someone who presents the foundation of the Cabal Illuminati structure and the game plan. He doesn't necessarily present it in the same gentle, experiential way of Fall Cabal. It's much more sort of tough and in your face with David Icke. And he just looks at the foundation. He doesn't necessarily look at the nuances. People will say to me, why do you endorse David Icke? Because he doesn't support Trump. Because he thinks that all politicians are all Cabal. That makes no difference. He's still presenting the foundation of who the Cabal are and what they're trying to do. So it's still a good foundational research. So he is someone I recommend, but whether he supports Trump or not is irrelevant. That's the higher sort of nuances within the story. And as a beginner, you just want the foundation. I would recommend Fall Cabal probably first and David Icke second, but maybe for a man, an indigo man, go for David Icke because you'll resonate with him, someone who believes in truth. But for a woman, perhaps more Fall Cabal is probably more floaty, and she's a woman and she's got that lovely heart-opening energy, and there are many people presenting that. So that's step 1, understand the plan. However, if you stay there in that reality, believing that that's it, this is it, this is reality, you will feel hopeless and you will think we're doomed. Because when you add up all the dots, it looks as though the Cabal have got control and we're done for. That's what the conclusion you will come to. So you must step into step 2, which is a claiming of one's sovereignty. And this is where you take the spiritual path. You make that declaration of sovereignty. I do not consent to this. I am a sovereign being, but not with anger, with boundaries. Understand what it means to become assertive and get boundaries and do that energetically and spiritually. Step 3 is when you move into love, forgiveness, gratitude. That's the 5th dimensional frequency. That's compassion. And a lot of people don't understand that because they're saying, how can you forgive the Cabal? Well, of course, you don't sit there and think, look at what the Cabal are doing. It's absolutely awful. Do you know what? I forgive you all. Of course you don't do that. That would be ridiculous. But in a 3-step process, as part of a spiritual awakening, you do come to that conclusion because you don't go step 1, step 2, step 3 in a linear way. You go step 1, step 2, step 3 simultaneously. So you're able to move into judgment, boundaries, sovereignty, and love and compassion simultaneously. And a lot of people are in step 3, love, 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 compassion, compassion. And they're the people that are called by the truth as the fluffy bunnies, because everything just turns to love. And that's, you're kind of lost without an anchor when you're there as well, because you will come crashing down. The universe can't support you in a non-integrated place. You need that love and that compassion and that gratitude to be integrated. That's why this whole thing is happening to us. And that's a whole other perspective. And that's the perspective of the whole grand earth plan in the first place. And that's step 3. And that is an overview. And it's very difficult to see that when you are in the human 3D perspective, because you are being attacked and innocent people are being abused. So it's very, very difficult to take the overview of this is a grand plan. You take these perspectives simultaneously. That is what it means to be multidimensional. And that's the only way we can move forward right now, is to be multidimensional and take each dimensional perspective, each dimensional viewpoint in the only way that we know how, by following that guidance and that inner intuition. That is what will trigger the DNA. That is what will create the fifth dimension, because that is ascension. That's what ascension is.
Oh, Magenta, thank you so much. There's a marvellous question I see there from Amanda Bowden, but I won't ask it.
No, it's fine. I can try and go through. Yeah.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Have the nine mentioned anything about an event happening in 2022 in Newcastle and London at all? A gathering of spiritual people, London being the biggest event.
No.
I thought it was something happening in both areas. Yeah, I didn't realise. Yes.
Not specifically that, no, but there are these sort of things that are going to occur. There are lots of events coming, cosmic alignments, astrological alignments, where people are gathering at the same time. This is all part of the creation of New Earth. The nine said to me 2 days ago when I woke up, get prepared. You are moving into the most challenging time in Earth's history since Atlantis. Basically, what happened in Atlantis is happening now. It's the same energetic. However, it's happening in a completely different way. But Atlantis fell. And this time, we have a chance to not fall, if you like. We have a very good chance to not fall. And if we're looking at this inevitability and creating it, we're not going to fall. So get prepared for this challenging time. But at the same time, because this time is the most challenging time in Earth's history, more than all the world wars and everything else, at the same time, there has to be a match in the positive. There can't be an overarching negative without the matching positive polarity. It has to be a 50-50. That's what's happening with this reality, because of the timeline we're on is a Paradise Ascension timeline. So this breakaway society, this fifth dimensional Gaia that we are navigating in now, there will be gatherings, there will be events that align with cosmic events, and there's going to be beauty and bliss and joy. The great gathering, we are going to meet one another for the first time. We've been alone and apart. I know we haven't in this area, Jackie, but a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
That many people that are like-minded. We are meeting one another. And when we're with one another, all of that polarity goes away, because when we look into one another's eyes, we see ourselves and our true soul. Our heart opens. We think, this is my sister, this is my brother, this is my true family. All of that is here now for us. All of that will be there throughout all of this. And the trust in that and the support from that, including Trump and the alliance and all of those people that we may never meet in real life, we're all one movement of positively polarized individuals. And there's millions of us, possibly in the billions. I don't know how many. There's millions of us, far more than people are aware. And they're in the media, and they're in the military, and they're in the NHS and the hospitals, and in the police force, and in the army, and they're going to wake up. But a lot of them are newly awakened, so they don't know which way to turn. I know this is happening because people are writing to me in these industries. People are writing to me. I have doctors, nurses, hospital workers, people in the media, trapped in the system, having to play the game, being hijacked, being influenced and bribed, and they're telling me what's happening. I can't go public with them because they want to remain anonymous, but they are going to come forward. There will come a time when they do. This is all set to occur. And I think a lot is happening this year, September, October, November, December, especially September, October, November. Those 3 months are going to be very, very, very intense months, with a lot of heavy darkness, but with all of this crystalline light running through it. That's what the 9 mean by the most challenging times in Earth's history. Get prepared, they say. The starseeds have all the tools needed to move through this time. They've already prepared for it. There are others that don't have the preparation, so we who do are leading them through. in whatever way that we can. That's what's happening right now.
Oh, Magenta, thank you so much.
I love the Q&A.
Oh, that's obvious, absolutely obvious. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you everyone that came along tonight.
Can I just say, Jackie, that when I look back at the energy of everything I've spoken about today, I'm very, very happy with the response to all the questions. They all feel to me to be in alignment with truth. But there's one question I am not sure about, and that is the Israeli Prime Minister. I don't feel that I have moved fully into a fully truthful explanation. It's so very convoluted because of his energy and what's around him that I would need to spend, it's one of those energies that I need to spend time on. Sometimes I can see immediately in someone like Donald Trump, Matt Hancock, you know, it's as clear as day. But with someone like Boris Johnson and this Israeli Prime Minister, it's not so clear. The waters are muddied a little bit. So I would say take that response with a pinch of salt somewhat.
Well, if he's not been brought to your attention before,
No.
that might say something, mightn't it?
I don't know. I can add a little bit to that because he also has alliances with Trump.
Okay.
So, Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, right? And his son-in-law. So there is definitely, I feel the same energy as you exactly. It's confusing, but the more, oh gosh, someone's really walking through me. The more traction Trump gets, the more he will provide a tipping point for Netanyahu.
Thank you so much. That resonates with me. Absolutely. I will keep an eye on this now because I'm very focused on sort of America, the UK, Europe. I haven't really branched out into the other countries with my view. I look at Earth as a whole, but obviously as we move forward, this is a global movement and we're going to become aware of the other countries and the other political movements because we are moving into a global oneness, not a one world government, but a unity 5D vibration. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And
well,
thank you again.
To Magenta, and when she's channeling the same thing as me, I'm like, I'm on the right track.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm going to finish that there.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bless you.